Good afternoon and a very happy and safe New Year. Wishing all of the viewers who have joined this call. And in this presentation or in this session, which is related to new functionalities. Yes. And new registration functionalities which are introduced in the month of November and December last year. So in this presentation, I am going to present what are the new changes we have introduced in GST system as per the provisions and new changes in the law, legal aspect, and the brief process business flow, and the screens, how it, with the look and feel, how it is being available for the users. So issues are so many. So I have highlighted which is on the screen. Aadhaar validation in registration process, some new changes has been introduced. Suspension of GST, it is one of the most critical change requests we have implemented. Addition of bank account, it is highlighted in red because this changes UAT has been successfully done and it will be deployed on production in the coming week. SEZ and SEZ developer related changes. PIN-based jurisdiction update, which is a facility for the applicants applying for new registration. Document upload functionality for the additional place of business and in the UIN registration. Cancellation application of the GST practitioner. And in the last week, in the 22nd December, one new notification has come, which has some parts related to the registration process. So on that, I would like to highlight some changes which are going to be introduced in in the next few weeks. So this is the first slide. So I would like to give you background that in the first phase of implementation, we have introduced Aadhaar authentication of the proprietors, Karta, partnership firm, and authorized signatories for type of constitution of business. So this process was rolled out on 21st of August 2020. The recent changes which has been done are rolled out on 24th November. Now it is applicable for all type of taxpayers, barring some exceptions. And with a new logic, that is 1+1, meaning thereby the Aadhaar authentication is required for one of the promoter and primary authorized signatory for every taxpayer. And part 2 of this change is associated with the existing taxpayer. It will be going to be introduced shortly in the coming week of January first week. We are expecting by that time it will be introduced on production. So the changes are basically associated with the proprietary concern. So this we have already implemented. So earlier, but the new with the new rollout, only Aadhaar authentication of the primary authorized signatory is required. For partnership firm, not Aadhaar authentication for not all the partners, but only one partner will be required with the primary authorized signatory. For HUF, the Karta definitely, and the primary authorized signatory. For the companies, public, private, and unlimited company, foreign limited, limited liability partnership, others. So for all the constitution of business, primary authorized signatories, Aadhaar authentication is mandatory, and only one director's authentication will be required. So these are the changes which are related to the Aadhaar authentication process. In addition to that, as I explained to you that there are some exceptions. So Aadhaar authentication is not required for the government department, public sector undertaking, local authority, and statutory bodies. So if the constitution of business or are these four, then you do not require any go for Aadhaar authentication. So with this, a new functionality for the cases where no Aadhaar is selected by the applicant. Then for such cases, a new functionality for document upload has been provided specifically, and it is named as eKYC verification. So under this eKYC verification, some cases like if a person has applied for Aadhaar and he has not received his Aadhaar, then Aadhaar enrollment ID can upload. Passport, definitely passport can be uploaded. KYC form, certificate, any certificate issued by the competent authority, meaning thereby the legal entities whosoever issues the identification certificate and others. So depending on the satisfaction of the proper officer, these documents are subject to verification by him, and registration can be granted. So these options are available in the drop down, and the applicant can upload the PDF or JPEG image of these files on the system, GST system. Now I'm going to show you the same screen which I for the Aadhaar authentication process. So if a taxpayer selects Aadhaar yes, then only two drop downs will be available where the authentication link will be sent. And definitely, as I explained to you earlier, that it will be the one promoter and one primary authorized signature. So based on that, the authentication link will be sent, and on post clicking of that link, a new page will get open, and you have to enter your Aadhaar number and the OTP which is linked with your Aadhaar, that is required to be entered. And once this all activity is completed, then you will get a message that your Aadhaar authentication is successful, and that same replication is shown on the GST portal on the Aadhaar authentication tab, that is your Aadhaar authentication is successful. If you want to see the status, you can click on the view button. When you click the view button, you will get the details in tabular form, that whatever you have mentioned in your GST application and data as per Aadhaar, both details will be shown to you, and include with the photographs. Whatever photographs is available with the GST database and whatever the applicant has uploaded on the GST portal, both will be shown. And it is specific to the applicant who is applying for the registration, and definitely it will be shown to the officer concerned who is approving the registration. Now I'm coming to the next part where Aadhaar authentication gets unsuccessful. Unsuccessful can be due to the incorrect OTP, name mismatch, or something, or link failure like that. So under that circumstances, the message will be there with details, and you will have to upload this screen will come. You can, if you wish to upload the eKYC document, then you can upload the document for the eKYC. And as I mentioned in my previous slide, that you can upload the passport, you can upload the EP, you can upload the Aadhaar enrollment ID, like that, or any document which is in support of your identification. So post uploading that document, the details can be viewed by the applicant, or it can be downloaded. If you feel that it is incorrectly uploaded, then you can also delete the same. This screen will also be shown to the proper officer whosoever is going to approve or reject your application based on the merit of the application. So this is the changes which is related to Aadhaar. Now I'm going to discuss the suspension of GST. Definitely the legal position is on your screen, that when a taxpayer applies for surrender of his registration, which is GST REG 16, or proper officer issues any SCN, which is in GST REG 17, the registration of that particular taxpayer gets suspended with immediate effect, meaning thereby as and when the ARN gets generated, the GST gets suspended. It is automated activity. And once your GST, the taxpayer's GST is suspended, the taxpayer cannot be able to file his future returns. He is not being able to generate his e-way. He cannot file core amendment because login will be blocked, and till the decision on the suspension is being taken. and dispersal of the refund amount is also to be restricted of such suspended taxpayer. So, however, taxpayer can log into the GST system. Login is allowed. He can make the payment. He can respond to the SCN raised by the officer. He can file non-core amendment, meaning thereby he can change his mobile number, email address, or whatever activities or whatever changes he wishes to do, he can do it. And the taxpayer can also file return for the earlier taxpayer period, meaning thereby if the GST of the taxpayer is suspended on 5th of January, then the taxpayer will be allowed to file returns till 5th of January, and he is not allowed to file return for the February. So these type of changes is done. Post revocation of suspension, depending on the order, whether the tax officer is going to drop the proceeding or he can cancel the registration. As and when the proceeding is dropped, the GST status of the GST will get changed from suspended to active. And in case the officer passes the cancellation order, then registration status will get changed from suspended to cancelled. These are the flow charts which is before your screen. We will be able to view that. This is the flow chart in the same process what I have mentioned to you. That is, it is a flow chart for the application for cancellation. The taxpayer files cancellation in GST REG 16. Tax officer validates. If he is not accepting the registration cancellation application, then his GST status will get changed from suspended to active. If he agrees to the application filed by the taxpayer, then definitely the suspended status will get changed to the cancelled status. So in both the cases, order is must. Similarly, this screen is also related to the initiation of cancellation proceeding by the tax officer. It is the suo motu cancellation process. And under the suo motu cancellation proceeding, a tax officer can issue notice of show cause, which is in GST REG 17. And once this notice is generated, with the generation of show cause notice by the tax officer with his digital signature, the GST of that taxpayer against whom the show cause notice is raised is suspended with immediate effect. Taxpayer has some time to respond to the queries. So if the taxpayer responds the queries in time, then and the response is acceptable to the officer, then he can initiate the drop proceeding functionality, and he will pass a drop proceeding order in GST REG 20, and the GST status will get changed to suspended to active. If he doesn't agree with the response filed by the taxpayer, then he will cancel the registration, and once he passes the order for cancellation, the GST will get cancelled. So the next change is related to addition of bank account. So it is highlighted in red because this change is going to be introduced in a couple of weeks. So UAT is cleared and it is going to be deployed shortly in next week. So under this, there is a legal requirement that a taxpayer whosoever comes for registration on GST portal, he has to furnish his bank account detail within 45 days from the date of grant of registration. So initially the bank account requirement was available with the GST registration application, but later on it was removed for the sake of ease of doing business, and as per the legal requirement, that person who has applied for registration without bank account, they have to furnish this detail within 45 days. So these changes are required to be done as per the rule 21 and rule 10. So the system will behave like this. After system will count the date of grant of registration, that is GST, and before 45 days, the taxpayer will start receiving alerts from the GST portal that please update your bank account. After 45 days, this message will come on the post logging as and when the taxpayer logs in, and this message will prompt him to file non-core amendment immediately, and it will navigate the taxpayer or the whosoever logged in to directly on the non-core amendment screen, and he has to update or add the bank account and submit the application. Since bank account addition is a non-core amendment, it doesn't require approval of the tax officer, and the status will immediately updated on GST portal. So this is related to bank account. Now I'm coming to the introduction of PIN-based jurisdiction, which has recently been rolled out for the to facilitate taxpayers. Earlier, we are going to provide when a taxpayer applies for registration, he has to select two jurisdictions, central as well as the state. For the state, based on the state jurisdiction master, the list is being populated to the tax applicant, and he has to select the jurisdiction. It was a big exercise, and we received the data from all the states across India, including CBIC, and based on the PIN code master, the jurisdiction is mapped, and all this information were furnished by the concerned state /GST department or CBIC. GSTN and the common PIN is being framed out, and based on the common PIN, the concerned state as well as the center jurisdiction both will be displayed to the applicant for selection. So now what happened? So it will be clear when I will go to the next screen. So here there is some rejig has been done that the requirement for filling the jurisdiction is related directly with the PIN code, which is required to be filled by the taxpayer or the applicant, whosoever applying for registration. So when the taxpayer or applicant enters the PIN code, the system will immediately ask him that please enter your state jurisdiction with some suggestion. So in the previous slide, he has entered some PIN code, and based on that, only word 1 is being shown to the applicant, that this word is linked with that particular PIN code. Some situation may come, so we have come to the situation like that, if a common PIN code is related with 4 words or 5 words. So particularly the state like Delhi or big cities where the common PIN codes are being, for that, the all jurisdiction, possible jurisdiction which are linked with that particular PIN code is being shown to the applicant, so that he can select the correct PIN code from the drop down. We have received some complaint because the data furnished to GSTN earlier was 1 year back, and some changes has been done. So GST system regularly updating the GST master based on the PIN code as and when we receive the updated information from the state, and it will be gets updated immediately on GST portal. So it is an ongoing exercise, and issues will be resolved accordingly. Now I am coming to the SEZ related changes. This is also important because for the SEZ unit and SEZ developer, there are certain privileges which has been sanctioned to such units under the GST law and act. So such units are flagged in the GST system as a separate entity because they are the units where most of the export oriented units situated, and their supplies are treated as IGST supply. So for the identification of the system purposes, we have every SEZ is required to take a separate registration on GST portal, a separate entity, so that the tracking can be done on GST portal. Now the new functionality what we have introduced, that we are now capturing the validity period of the SEZ unit. So every SEZ unit is notified by Government of India that is the SEZ department is comes under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. And as per the notification, there is some validity period given for a SEZ unit. Normally, it ranges from 5 years to 7 years. So as and when the validity expires, there are two possibilities. Either SEZ unit or developer applies for the extension of the validity, or they cease to get the extension, and they under that circumstances, systems would be enabled that such GSTs should be tracked, and they have to cancel their registration or surrender their registration and take a new registration as a normal tax. So that expiry of validity was initially not been captured in the system. So now we have started to capturing it. So these are the screens, that is the SEZ unit and SEZ developer are mentioned separately. So it is also important because under the e-invoicing system, there are some privileges for the SEZ unit and SEZ developer. Based on that future requirement, it has been segregated to two blocks. Further, the letter of approval and letter of permission is required to be uploaded by such units. If you are a SEZ developer and or a SEZ unit, then you have to upload the letter of approval or letter of permission, whichever is applicable for the applicant. And these are some metadata, so which is highlighted in red with the period of validity, and the letter is required to be uploaded here. So as and when this information is captured in the system is tracking the validity period of such units, and accordingly alerts and trigger messages, SMS will be sent to the taxpayer, so that timely they can extend their validity, or officer, the same alerts will also be shown to the officer. So if a validity of SEZ unit is expired, then officer is supposed to give a so-called notice to such unit why your registration is not cancelled. Because if a validity period of SEZ unit is expired and it is not extended by the government, then it is the obligation for the unit that he has to cancel his registration and take a new registration as a normal tax. So these are some legal aspects, and existing these things are captured in the system and with the alert mechanism. Now I'm coming to the introduction of document upload in case of UIN. So UIN is approximately 400 UINs are there. So MEA used to issue a notification for the UIN, such UIN holders, that notification is nowhere captured in the system. So now it has been started. And in case of UIN, if any UIN is coming for registration, UN body or embassies or the other notified person, then it is required for them to upload the notification and details on the GST portal. It is very small change. For the additional place of business, in addition to this, the document upload functionality has been started. And in case any taxpayer is mentioning or going to do a core amendment to update or add additional place of business, then they have to upload the document in support of the additional place of business, and it is on the same line as for the principal place of business. Now I'm coming to the cancellation and involvement of GST practitioners. So for the GST practitioners, there is one form, that is the PCT06, and this aspect is important for all GST practitioners practicing under the GST Act. So the system, they can, if they is no longer to continue as GST practitioner, then they can file their cancellation application GST PCT06 post login. And this application, once it is filed, it is it lands in his controlling authority, which is normally a commissioner or additional commissioner rank officer. So the officer has to examine the process is in. He has to examine the PCT06, and he can even raise the queries query flow is there. And if he is satisfied that the cancellation is application is okay, then he can pass the order in GST PCT07. So once as and when the PCT07 is uh, passed or order is issued by the at the commissioner level, now all the privileges and the benefits given to the GSTP, where they can come and engage their taxpayers and other things will stop. And once this is done, then system will send alerts to all the engaged taxpayer associated with that particular GSTP that this GSTP registry enrollment is cancelled by the commissioner. You will have to engage another other GSTP. So accordingly, and the status in the search functionalities also gets updated, will be updated. And once a GSTP enrollment is cancelled, then a GSTP cannot be able to engage or disengage the taxpayer as per their wish after the date of order. So, and this information of cancellation is shared to all the tax authorities across India. So the rest is screen flow, how a GSTP files his cancellation application. So it is the screen which is being shown, that application for cancellation of enrollment. And from here, it is very simple. He has to furnish the details with the reasons that why he is going to cancel his enrollment. And he has to submit the application with verify and continue. And for post submission, this lands to the officer concerned, and officer, after putting the remarks or in case there is no query, then he can cancel the registration in GST PCT07 and generate the order. Once this activity is done, all the status in the GST database will get updated. Now I'm coming to the most important part. That is the notification 94/2020, which is issued on 22nd December. And there are some changes which has been introduced with this notification, which are going to impact the taxpayers registration process in recent times. So the changes are brief is given below. That it is on your screen. That first changes is related to the Aadhaar related biometric requirement, that will be notified and implemented after some time when the government will notify it. The other things are already notified, which is related to approval days. That is from 3 working days, it has been become the 7 working days in the Aadhaar yes cases. And in case the taxpayers goes for Aadhaar no, then the timelines has been changed from 21 calendar day to 30 calendar. And there is a centralized bulk suspension scheme which is introduced through this notification. So under this process, the return defaulters can be, the notice can be issued to such return defaulters. And a new subgroup 2A under Rule 21A has been introduced. So these rules has 3 criteria. That is, the first one, the taxpayer having difference in GSTR1 and GSTR3B, the same format, and other 2 criteria are like that. The taxpayer with a difference in them, it is related to availment of ITC. Actually, the system, GST system now generates GSTR2A for every taxpayer. So based on the availment and how a taxpayer claims in GSTR3B, there will be, in case of mismatch, the system will trigger a notice to such taxpayers. Similarly, for the set of liability, there are different set of rules. So it has been provided in the said notification. So in the screen, you are able to see 2 red and other black. So for the first one, return defaulters, the provision is already in the suo motu cancellation purview, and it is already in the GST system. For the second one, the changes has been done, and 2 other changes will come shortly on GST portal. So the process will be same, that notice will be issued in centralized manner to such taxpayer whosoever defaulted in filing the returns, and it will be, once this notice will be issued, it will be posted to the concerned proper officer dashboard for further action. For this process is similar to the suo motu cancellation, only the timeline is changed. So there is no difference between the 2 processes. So these are, in short, I have presented the new registration process entire completely, the changes. This is the notification which is by the which is the notice format, which is covered under notification 94 2020. So this is the format, and these are the reasons. And if a such taxpayer is centralized suspended, then they will receive this notice from the system, and they have to approach to their jurisdictional authority, or they can file online response to their concerned jurisdictional authority for further action. If and jurisdictional authority, if satisfied with the response of the taxpayer, they can drop the proceeding or they can cancel the registration. So it's just like a suo motu cancellation of registration and extension of that. So now I'm coming to the question and answer session. So whatever questions has been, most of the questions have been answered. Only I think my team has given one question to me, that government departments not having bank account, how to do so. Now I would like to inform you that for the government departments and the TDS deductors, the provisions for the adding the bank account is already been implemented, and they can add their bank accounts to the process of non-core amendment. So it is already on production. The viewer who has asked this question, I am requesting him to please visit to the GST portal for further details. It is available in the help section. So with this, I would like to wish you Happy New Year again, and thanks of all of you who is listening to this webinar, and I'm really very grateful. Thank you. And I would like to inform that the same session will be repeated in Hindi also on the 7th of January. So if any viewer wish to view this in Hindi, they can join us at the same time on the same link, and link is being provided on GST portal. They have to view other details. And in addition to that, emails and SMSs has been sent to all of the authorized signatories whosoever watching this session. So thank you all, and wishing you again very happy New Year.